Hi, this is Cal Ripken Jr., and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
The ML Sports Platter back with you all over the major platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher, and Deezer. Make sure you download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review at Mike L Sports on Twitter for me. And we are brought to you by our good friend Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual New York State. Tax efficient retirement planning today with Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual New York State. Get your financial future in order. Advisors.massmutual.com. He's on Facebook. He's on LinkedIn. Open up our eyes to unbelievable things in the future to get set up and hopefully retire a little bit faster. Brian Comboy. Advisors.massmutual.com. Brian Comboy is the official financial advisor of the ML Sports Platter. Also, thank you to Axe Exotic Pets, Sit Means Sit Syracuse, and our good buddy Matt Graham at State Farm. Get a free rate quote today. Visit SyracuseInsuranceAgent.com. Auto, home, life, bank, health, business, you name it. Matt Graham of State Farm can help you out. Can't wait to talk to this next guest, Del Reid, on Twitter at Del Reid. He is the co-founder of Bill's Mafia and the fan base, and he runs 26 Shirts Buffalo, a tremendous group with great themed Buffalo shirts. So much of that money going to charity. Just does a great job. 26shirts.com. Go buy some shirts and support the cause. And again, you can get Del on Twitter at Del Reid. Del, thanks for a few, bud. How you been?
Great. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's start right off the shoot here. I mean, your warehouse is open and ready to roll, right? So where is it? How can people get involved? And you've got pretty much most of your products that are available there, right?
Yeah, so we've opened up what we call a retail showroom in Tri-Main Center in Buffalo, 2495 Main Street, Suite 347. We're just really excited. We offer, most of what you'll find on the website, aside from our current fundraising campaigns that we put out every Monday or Wednesday for special editions and comebacks. But for the most part, if you can see it on the website, you can find it in our showroom.
Okay, so one cool thing that's going on, obviously, is the Bills are really, really good again. And you guys have been doing a great job and with the product before they got really, really good. But how much momentum, how much extra momentum have you been feeling because the team is really, really good?
Well, they say a rising tide raises all ships, right? So we were doing okay, but as the team succeeded, obviously there was more demand for anything that represented them. I remember the San Francisco 49ers Monday night game alone. I think we had 3 different shirts that came out of just that one game, between the Rainn Wilson tweet about Josh Allen and the Rockabye Beasley design we did after John Feliciano kind of rocked Cole Beasley in the end zone. And I don't even remember what the third one was, but I remember there was 3, and a lot of those came from, just people tweeting at us saying, "You got to make a shirt about this." And so we had a lot of different people, tweeting at us and emailing us saying, "You've got to make a shirt about this." And it was just a lot of fun. These are things that are going on that we're all celebrating together, and we can find a way to give back to the community at the same time. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so what did you make of the team's draft? Do you like what the pickups they got? I think the first 2, I think Greg Russo and Boogie Basham, obviously you didn't, not only filled a need there because you got to go chasing Mahomes. That's what everybody keeps talking about, but they seem to be really, really great athletic players. What were your draft thoughts for the Bills?
Yeah, well, I'm no college football expert, so I can't speak to the specific players that were drafted, but I think that they heavily invested in the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, which I think is great. That's where the game, a lot of games are won and lost, at the line of scrimmage. So I was happy with it. I was actually very happy. I think the team, as Bills fans, we're not really used to having a roster that's pretty complete for all intents and purposes. Always room for improvement, but we're not used to, drafting for what's basically the back end of the roster. So and you look at the undrafted people they bring in. I mean, who knows if any are going to make the team? It used to be 3, 4, 5 dudes would make the team from the undrafted alone. So it's a nice place to be as a fan, just knowing your team's identity, knowing who the players are, knowing they're good. So with the draft, I had no issues whatsoever because for the most part, they're not drafting starters.
I had so much enjoyment in the draft because of what you just talked about. I mean, you know, you are they going to go up and rush up to get a quarterback? Are they need this person and that person? And the Bills have so many holes to fill. Well, you know what? It's just plug and play and patchwork. And part of the reason for that is that Brandon Beane made several moves already to bring a lot of the guys back together. Are you in favor? Because there was a lot of noise around J.J. Watt and, you know, free agency with some other players. The Bills didn't make a huge splash, but I look at it as, well, their splashes were bringing back everybody that was, you know, collectively as a unit was one win away from the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a splash in and of itself. You had players like Isaiah McKenzie saying, like, he would have played for candy. I mean, that should tell you where the team is at.
Yeah, those guys are all bought in, aren't they? Man.
Yeah, absolutely. And these aren't like just, you know, Joe Blows off the street that are bought into it and they're just happy to have a job. Like, these are like high quality NFL players that they all serve a role on this roster and they all contributed last year and they wanted to come back because they feel they have a shot at winning it all. And as a Bills fan for so long, that seemed like such a laughable thing to say. You know, I think the Bills might win the Super Bowl this year, but I don't know, man. I think you can say it now, and people aren't going to even bat an eye at it because they are a contender, and the players know that.
Well, here's the thing. On that note, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going right there. Do you think the fan base, if at the end of 2021, you know, they take a step back, a couple wins in the regular season, they come short of the AFC title game, do you think fans will turn on the situation that fast? Because one year to the next, to the next, to the next, it leads more expectations where a lot of fan bases are just automatic to say, well, this year should be this because of what we did last year. And it doesn't work that way. Sports are different. Every year is different. You have to, you know, hit the reset button. A lot of other teams around the Bills are obviously a lot better in the AFC, as you know, Del. So do you think, because you have a great pulse of the fan base, do you think that there will be a turn, major disappointment, etc., or no, not really, because we're still kind of in that window to go win one?
I certainly hope not. I think big picture, I don't think that's going to be a problem. You'll always have yahoos on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, you know, dropping these, you know, crazy hot takes in terms of, well, I guess that they're never going to win it. Like, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback arguably in the game, right? And how many Super Bowls has he won? How many has he been to? He doesn't go to one every year. and Josh Allen is just turned 25 years old. He has his entire career ahead of him, you know. And Sean McDermott said it himself, you know, at the end of season presser. Every year, it's a new team that you're working with. It's a new team, and so I personally, I'll be disappointed if they don't make it to the Super Bowl. I'll be disappointed if they don't even make it back to the AFC Championship. But I'm not. I don't want to lose perspective here. I hope fans don't either. That this team was, I wouldn't even say so bad for so long, but they were so middle of the road for so long. Always in the hunt in November. You know, always just kind of there picking 10, 11, 12, sometimes 8 in the draft every year. They could never really move up or down too much. We're in a special time right now as fans. And does that mean we're going to have perennial trips to the Super Bowl or even to the conference championship? Probably not. But I'm not I'm not going to get angry if they don't bring home a Lombardi trophy every year. I'm going to enjoy this time that we're in right now, try and stop and smell the roses because the dark times, I always call them the dark times, basically the 2000s up until a couple years ago.
So brutal.
They lasted so long. And I'll never forget the 2009 game against Cleveland where they lost 6-3 and Derek Anderson won.
I was there, and it was a snowstorm right at the end of that game. That was a brutal drive home.
Well, I think it's a different game we're talking about. This is the one that actually is in 2009. I think it was in September or maybe early October. It was 6-3, not 8-3. There's the Browns and the Bills have had some epic, terrible.
Oh yeah, well there was one in Buffalo that was somewhere in that time that I was at. I covered the game, and it was a horrible snowstorm going home, and I think it was a battle of field goals. So I lose them at some point because there's been so many, as you said, the Browns and Bills have played so many bad ones.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I just think of those games in the late 2000s and mid 2000s, early 2000s. So I'm gonna enjoy this for what it is, and that's a really long answer to me saying I really hope that my fellow fans kind of join me in that, and I think that's the case. And like I said, there's always a couple guys that'll tweet about some stupid thing because Josh Allen only threw for 398 yards, not 400. But you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt.
Del Reid, our guest on the ML Sports Platter. A couple more quick questions for you, Del. At Del Reid on Twitter, the co-founder of Bills Mafia and the fan base, of course, running 26 shirts, doing an awesome job with Dan and the crew there at 26shirts.com. Make sure you make your purchase for several of the different looks and themes and styles. And I got to tell you, I bought the mystery, several mystery ones. I don't know how I missed this, Del, but I open up the package and I see a Bonaventure shirt, an Unfurl the Brown and White, Rise to March shirt. I don't know how I missed that, but as a Bonaventure alum, I literally won if you had only shipped me that shirt.
Well, I'm glad it worked out, man. I'm glad it worked out. We did that one a few months ago, and it was a little bit of a remix of one we did years ago. I think it was when the women made it to the NCAA tournament in 15 or 16. But I'm glad it worked out, man. I appreciate the support.
I couldn't believe when I saw it. First of all, it was great to get it, and it was a surprise. But then I said, how did I miss this one? Because I'm always on your stuff, making sure that I see what's next. How about get into it for my listeners too? Some of the recent folks you've helped and some of the recent designs and how you came up with those, Del.
Yeah, sure. Right now we're selling a really cool shirt. It says, "If you give a buffalo a wing," which is a take on a popular children's book, and that helps first grader Adrian Gomez in his fight, with cancer. It's doing really well. I'm really proud of the way it's performing. We're going to make a dent, in this family's medical bills, which is great. This is why we exist. And then we have another shirt we just launched on Monday called Buffalo Muscle, which is a little bit of a play on the Mustang logo. And that helps a gentleman named Jeff Housenet, who's dealing with a really crappy situation himself, doesn't have a good prognosis, and we just want to help him and the family however we can. So those are the two most recent ones that we've put out there. And, like I said, we're proud of, the way they're performing, both of them. And, we're so honored and humbled that, our fellow fans believe in what we do and love what we do, because none of it's possible. We can put all the different designs we want out on the internet, but if people don't buy them, if they don't believe in our causes, then we're not doing anything.
There might not be a shirt that has more value now than Victory Monday, right? Like I ended up not getting a Victory Monday shirt last year. I was 2 or 3 weeks in. I almost got it. I said, nah, and I waited. I kept waiting. I got a couple others, of course. But I said, man, I should have gotten that because I could have worn that shirt literally like 13 times this year with value. And frankly, some people were pulling this, and I think you even had tweeted it, and I really got a chuckle out of it, where people were wearing, because they were on primetime so much. Again, we're going to get 4 more primetime games next year. But, people were wearing it Thursday morning or Friday morning afterwards, or if they won on Sunday Night Football, they'd wear it. Well, obviously Victory Monday would happen then, but if they won on Monday Night Football, I should say, they'd wear it on Tuesday morning and just kind of act as though it was a Victory Monday. So that talk about a value for a shirt right there, huh? Maybe I should pick one up because they'll win a bunch more next year.
Yeah, Victory Monday on a Tuesday, I think is one of the days we were talking about. It was really cool, and we'll bring it back again this summer. I think we brought it back last season. I think it was a couple weeks into the season, which was poor timing on our part. I'll take the blame on that, but we'll make sure that we have it out ahead of time because, the Bills are going to have a lot of W's this year, we believe, and so we want people to be able to wear it, especially the expats, people who don't live, in Western New York. It's great when they can show up to work on a Monday morning, either wearing the shirt or maybe under their button down, they can flash it to their their Boston coworkers or their, wherever they live, Texas, wherever they can show that, that Buffalo pride.
Do you have through the years a favorite model shirt? Do you have a favorite look, theme, whatever the case may be? Do you rank them at all, or are they all kind of like your? I guess you have over 6,000 kids or so, right? Is that the?
Yeah, I don't know if we have 6,000 designs, but
it feels that way.
It does. I often use that analogy when people say, "What's your favorite design?" It's like asking me what my favorite kid is. But I mean, if you go from in terms of, we exist to help. So if you want to go through that angle, when the Blue Jays set up shop in Buffalo last summer, we did the Major League design, and that's our best-selling design ever.
Is it really?
We raised almost $70,000 to split between two different food banks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And go figure on that, right? Because Buffalo is Bills and Sabres country, and you guys come out with something that's baseball related, and it sells the most.
Yeah, I think it was a mix of just a perfect storm. I mean, we were in the middle of COVID. There was not a lot to celebrate, and even the fact that fans couldn't go to the games last year. Just the fact that, Buffalo was at the center of something was really cool. And, last summer, at least, we thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. This coming Tuesday, they're going to start playing again, and fans are going to be able to attend this time. But it was just a really special time, and people, I think, wanted to commemorate it. We had shirts and hats and everything. So I think if you want to think of, in terms of the amount of good we did for a design, that's absolutely my favorite. And then in terms of personal ones, we have a lot of shirts that are, Marvel references. Anybody who follows me on Twitter, if you're not a huge Marvel fan, thanks for continuing to follow me because I know I tweet about it all the time. but any of the shirts that reference, that subject matter is, those are in the conversation as well.
I'll tell you, some of these ones I surf through the site that are so cool. I like a lot of the Buffalo, like the city themed shirts. One of my favorite is the street sign one. How did you come up with the idea for that? It's just a simple, cool street sign. The Buffalo's on the left. It says Buffalo, New York. It's that simple. It's blue. It's classy. What made you say, hey, let's do a street sign and just Buffalo, New York and keep it simple, stupid, right? The KISS theory.
Yeah. Like last spring or whatever it was, I was driving down Delaware Ave in the city, and I mean all the different street signs in down Delaware and elsewhere, they look exactly like that. It'll say like Delaware Avenue or Summer Ave or wherever. I remember thinking why has nobody made a shirt like this? Yeah. And then as soon as it entered my mind, I'm like, holy crap, we have to make it because now I thought of it. I'm going to kick myself if somebody else does, because the shirt hasn't been made as far as I know. All these years, and watch, I'm going to take it and somebody else is going to put it out. So, it was just driving down through the city, seeing the sign and going, that's a really simple design. And the simple designs often are, some of the more popular ones. Are
you chomping at the bit here to go to the stadium and see football in person again? You going to any road games? I mean, it's this fan base is going to just. I mean, goodness, Del. Last year, if there were fans, obviously we know how raucous and crazy it would have been. But them coming off that year and not being able to go until the playoffs. Are you going? Are you chomping at the bit? Have you thought about what it's going to be like that first game and how loud that fan group is going to be there in Orchard Park?
Have I thought about it, dude?
Well, I don't know.
Yes, absolutely, I can't wait.
You're a busy guy. You're a busy guy between the shirts and the comics, man. I don't know.
Yeah, the world stops when the Bills play, man. The world stops for me. So no, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Gonna be bringing the whole family this year to every game. we're going to, the four of us, my wife, my two daughters,
Every
we're going to all the
game.
games. Can't wait. Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. So I can't wait.
Kidding.
Looking forward to it.
Wow.
And in terms, every home game, I should say. I'm not that.
Yeah. No, I got you.
I'll leave that to Pinto Ron. That's his brand.
I was going to say, are you trying to carry the torch from Pinto Ron? A couple more quick ones for Del Reid, co-founder, of course, Bill's Mafia, 26 shirts, 26shirts.com. Go grab all those Buffalo-style shirts. You've told me this before, and you're such a humble dude, but, and I know you're to this day still in a way blown away what all of this has become. The Bills Mafia thing and the hashtags and the fan base and the growth and the shirt company and all the rest. I know how thankful and humble you are, but you got to take a ton of credit for it. I know you have a great team. I know you've applauded a lot of other people, but you need to take a lot of credit for it. Do you think there will be a day down the line where you take a bow for all this?
Take a bow? How do you mean?
Well, I mean, at the end of a Broadway show, right? Like the cast does a bow. It's like they bow and, hey, thanks for coming out to their fans or thanking their fans. And then the fans clap and stand for them as a thank you for coming out. So Del Reid takes a bow. And to me, I just, I think of Bills fans just standing up and applauding you and your group for all the money you've raised in charity and, given so many people a great product and something to feel good about.
Well, we get a lot of praise already, and like you said, I am quick to deflect because it's not all me. I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you very much. But taking a bow makes it sound like it's over. This show's not ending anytime soon.
I meant down the line. That's why I said down the line, man. I didn't mean tomorrow. Don't worry. You better not quit tomorrow on me.
Yeah. No, I have no plans. In fact, like Dan and I, we work with a business consultant. And one of the things he was saying is like, all right, you need to know what your exit strategy is, or have multiple exit strategies. Every business owner needs to have like, I don't know, death. He's like, that's not a good exit strategy as a business owner. So I don't even know what that means. We're still going back and forth on that, but I plan on doing this for as long as I can, do it as well as I can for as long as I can. I'm just really enjoying the ride and super, like you said, I am super grateful and I do feel humbled at the attention that our stuff gets. And so I'm just super thankful for all of it. It's a fun ride.
All right, final one for you. Where do you see this 26 shirts thing going 3 years from now, 5 years? Let's peer into the future here a little bit. Where do you think you'll be? Where do you hope you'll be? Expanding even more? I mean, what's happening in the next few years here for you?
Yeah, great question. Who knows, dude? I have no idea. We have lots of ideas, but nothing we're ready to implement or even try. But we just opened up the showroom 2.5 weeks ago, and it's really cool being able to have customers. I like the term partners better, but customers coming in, actually getting to meet them, face to face. It's really nice to be able to talk to people and personally thank them for the support they provide for the causes that we're trying to support, right? So who knows? I mean, maybe there's more of that in the future. I don't know. We have a Chicago line. I would love for the Chicago line to grow more and do more good in that city. So we'll see. We're just going to play it by ear. So many things, that have happened over the past 7+ years have been borderline accidental or unplanned. So, I mean, I'm not going to start planning now, not too deeply. We'll see where this takes us.
By the way, 26 shirts. Why the number 26?
Well, when we first launched, when I first came up with this idea, it was going to be a 1-year community service project, a different design every 2 weeks, 52 weeks divided by 2 is 26. So it made a lot of sense to me at the time, and I have been explaining it ever since. And now it makes no sense because we all launch a new shirt every week. Yeah. And on Wednesdays, we do special editions of comebacks. So it's kind of like in Buffalo, there's a chain called Just Pizza. I think they've since changed it, like Just Pizzas and wings and stuff. But like for a long time, it was Just Pizza, and I always thought it was funny because you would go to Just Pizza and you could order wings and subs. So I mean, we're called 26 shirts, and we do a lot more than 26 shirts in a year, and we sell a lot more than shirts. So I think we're too invested in the brand name now. We're never changing it.
No doubt. No doubt. Shirts, hats, mugs. It's so good. 26shirts.com. Click there right on that buffalo icon and go make some purchases today with Del and his group. You can get him on Twitter at Del Reid, also the co-founder of Bill's Mafia. Del, this was awesome. Always love having you on. Thanks so much.
Hey, man, I appreciate the invite. I'll come on anytime. I appreciate it. I love talking to you.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by our great friends at Welch & Company Jewelers. Log on to welchjewelers.com today for the best jewelry around. Engagement rings, wedding rings, bracelets, necklaces, you name it. Welch & Company Jewelers, getting it done. I want to spend the second half of this podcast chatting about Bryson DeChambeau and really, him and Brooks Koepka and what's been happening with the feud here. Because I love it. I think it's fantastic. If you saw Brooks Koepka, give the press conference there after the PGA Championship, Bryson DeChambeau walked by and Koepka did like an eye roll, and it literally, it went viral. I believe the video, I'm watching it right now. It's hysterical. And, 10 million views and all this stuff. And I guess it got taken down because of a copyright issue. And I don't really know the details of that. But the freeze frame and Koepka and rolling, closing his eyes, shaking his head, just, oh my God, here comes this clown. I guess, that the click-clack of DeChambeau's golf spikes were really what set Koepka off during that interview. And these guys have been kind of sniping each other since 2019. But you know how people out there say, well, you got to have a rivalry in sports, right? You got to have Navratilova and Everett. You got to have Ali Frazier. You got to have Bird Magic. You got to have, Sampras Agassi. You got to have these. You got to have Woods Mickelson. You got to have Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, or if Palmer goes back a little bit, you got to have Tom Watson and Jack. You got to have a main rivalry. And I think if the sport is really at the height, it sometimes it doesn't need a rivalry. Do rivalries help sports? Sure, they help ratings. Dynasties also help ratings, because let's face facts. If you're a fan of that dynasty, you're going to keep watching, keep buying, keep rooting, and just your eyes are going to be glued to it. If you're against that dynasty, you get sick of them, you're jealous of them, whatever the case may be, you're going to grow to hate them if you didn't hate that team already. And so therefore you've got both sides of it, right? You got the love-hate relationship, and that's, I remember when the Yankees were on top for so many years in the Joe Torre era, it was so much of that. You were either a Yankee fan or you just couldn't stand them and got so sick of them winning. You might have respected Mo Rivera and Posada and Pettit and Bernie Williams and Derek Jeter, sure. But by the same token, you were like, I am done with this. I hate the Yankees. I'm sick of seeing them win it. And so I think it depends. I think if a sport is at the height, sometimes it's at the height without a rivalry. And I'll give you an example. Tiger Woods, I don't think really had a rival for a long period of time. There were different golfers during his heyday in 2000, 2001, 2002, even 99, at the back end, middle to back end of that year, into 2000, 2001, 2002, he was winning tons and tons and tons of majors. David Duval here, Vijay Singh there. I remember Singh took the number one ranking from him, right? You had Sergio Garcia pop on the scene. Phil Mickelson was kind of trying to get over the hump and win his first major during all this, right? But Woods, Ernie Els. But Woods never really had a major rivalry for 5 to 8 years, where Jack Nicklaus had Arnold Palmer and, I would argue, Tom Watson. Tom Watson actually has more majors than Arnold Palmer, and he would go face-to-face with Jack Nicklaus, and there would be no fear factor whatsoever. Nicklaus was taken out by Watson, in majors. And the 81 Masters comes to mind. That was the last Masters, actually, the last major before this last PGA Championship, where the final twosome had won at least 4 majors minimum in their career. This year it was the same thing lined up with Phil Mickelson and Brooks Koepka. But it seems as though we might have something here. And I don't know if DeChambeau and Koepka can be the top two golfers in the world and be sniping at each other with the rivalry, because that to me would be the ultimate, right? If you had a golf rivalry, but they were both the best players in the sport, that is crazy to think about. Does golf need that jolt right now? It might. I mean, Tiger Woods is recovering from that horrific car accident. I mean, who knows if he's even going to swing a club again. Ratings obviously did incredibly well with Phil Mickelson. But how many more times are we going to see that from Phil? We might not see it again. Are we going to see it from someone else? Possibly. But that player, more times than not, is not going to have the fanfare, the love, the beloved Phil Mickelson, right? It's not going to have that same flair for the dramatic and that just that beloved feeling from the fan base, because people love Phil, mostly. So it's interesting to think about, because you can have a rivalry in a sport, and you're not at the top. Like, for example, the Cubs and Cardinals can both be bad, but both of those fan bases are going to be at each other's throats for 19 games during the season, and those games will still matter a ton to Cubby fans and Redbird fans, no question. But they might not be the top two teams in baseball, right? You can have a rivalry within the sport, but not be at the top. And I think it would be remarkable, not just if these guys, kind of kicked off this rivalry a little bit. I mean, it's gotten pretty intense, but, it's been going on for a couple of years, but it seems like we're getting maybe to it being pretty heated. I would love to see these guys obviously paired in the U.S. Open. I think that would be unbelievable. That would be so much fun, because then, there's no way they're going to talk to each other probably. And they have to shake each other's hands after the round probably. I mean, you don't have to do anything, but out of the respect of the game, they probably still would, but I can't imagine a lot of long eye contact or a lot of words, right? There'd just be a lot there. They're both going to get asked about it. Will one guy crack, right? There's just been so much back and forth with these two guys that I would love to see them go at each other for a number of years here, and they're both pretty darn good. I don't know if Bryson DeChambeau can, keep up his play with that enormous body of his. I mean, he wants to continue to put on weight. I mean, he wants to put on another 20, 30, 40 pounds, which is absurd. I mean, what does this guy want to do? He wants to play golf at 280 pounds? But right now he's hitting the ball a mile. He's already won a major. He's been in a ton of top 5s and 10s. So it's clearly worked, whatever he's done. I just don't know if it has sustainability. Brooks Koepka, a little bit on the lighter side. He's obviously built like a complete and utter monster. But he has 4 majors, okay? If DeChambeau can get one more major in the next, 1 or 2 more majors in the next 4 to 6 majors, and Koepka gets another one or comes close, and they're at 4-2 or 5-3 or something of that sort, but they're both at the top of the game, ahead of Rory McIlroy, ahead of Jordan Spieth, ahead of Justin Thomas, ahead of Dustin Johnson, right? If these two guys are ahead of all those players, and they also have the rivalry brewing, would be pretty awesome. So in a game, and I'm reading right from a New York Times article here, in a game in which players are rebuked for sneezing during an opponent's backswing and chided for mismatched clothing, trash talking, as someone in golf might say, is not par for the course. That was a great paragraph by the terrific writer Bill Pennington. All I could think about with this is, yeah, but if these guys brew up a rivalry and the fans, bite it, kind of take a chunk into it, I don't even know if fans would take a side. I mean, I suppose DeChambeau kind of rubs people the wrong way with his attitude and analytics and thinking he's smarter than everybody else. Would they go to Brooks Koepka because DeChambeau rubs people the wrong way? I could see that happening. But you don't have a Phil or a Tiger. You don't have a Jack. You don't have a giant of the game. You don't have an international star who has kind of his own across the pond fan base to kind of put with the one here in America. And Rory is close to that. Rory is even keeled, though, and not very controversial. I mean, the most controversial he'll get is, walking off of the course and maybe lying about, a tooth injury or when he had dental surgery or whatever the case may be, or saying that Bryson DeChambeau has actually gotten in my head. Those are about the only things he's ever said to make any kind of news. He is bland. I don't know if I'd call him boring. Love the way he talks. Love his charisma. I root for Rory. He said I remember when he said, too, that, he's just playing for the money a few years ago and it rubbed people the wrong way. Those are really the only things that he's ever done. He doesn't do anything close to DeChambeau. DeChambeau is in people's faces. He's on social media. He's talking people down. He's said that he said so many things that just don't make sense to regular golf Joes. Remember the Masters comments as well, and how he was commenting on how he could hit it over the trees, and obviously that didn't work. It's never been done before. Nobody's ever hit it over all the trees at Augusta. It was an absurd comment. And just multiple other things that he brings up in the game of golf that just rub people the wrong way. But we've had something going on here pretty good. I mean, we really have. And, DeChambeau, he's a lightning rod right now. The players, a lot of them don't like him. 40 pounds of muscle, overpowering golf courses. He's become a guy who's in people's faces. He's doing things that people don't like. Brooks Koepka doesn't like the spikes. And again, this is a couple-year thing going on here, too. Koepka, by the way, has also mocked DeChambeau for playing too slow. That made major news. DeChambeau is mocked Brooks Koepka's abs, and now what we've got is this incredible match that's coming up, which should be just unbelievable theater to watch. I can't wait for this. And things had calmed down for a couple of days after the PGA, and then it picked right back up with the celebrity charity golf match that was announced, with DeChambeau going with Aaron Rodgers against Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson, and then Twitter just started exploding. Tom Brady started it with a screen grab, Bryson happy to be here, right where Bryson is walking by Koepka in the press conference of the PGA Championship, and then Aaron, and then it says right below Koepka's mouth, Aaron realizing he has to spend the whole day with Bryson, which was hysterical. And then Koepka tweets at Aaron Rodgers, sorry, bro. And then DeChambeau comes back with, it's nice to be living rent-free in your head. But perhaps the best thing to come out of all of this was Phil Mickelson. And I hadn't seen this until I just started recording a minute ago. Mickelson said, I feel like I'm in the middle of something and should step aside. But in parentheses, he puts, except they want the current PGA champ. With a smiley face. So, it's just hysterical. But see, this is the stuff now with the play of social media in it and all that. I would love to see Bryson DeChambeau and Phil Mickelson go, and Brooks Koepka, DeChambeau and Koepka go toe-to-toe in some majors, and sort of spit at each other through social media and all the rest. I think it'd be great for the game of golf. And look, if they're doing that and they both end up being for a stretch of time, even if it's 3 to 5 years, if they are the top 2 players in the world while this is going on, I think it's going to add a ton to golf. You can hate or like DeChambeau, I don't care. I think he's good for golf because it's giving the sport attention. He's hitting it a long ways. We know what the home run has done in baseball, although now there's too many home runs, too many walks, too many strikeouts. But remember 10, 15 years ago, chicks dig the long ball. They made commercials about it. Deep home runs, McGuire, Sosa. We know what the home run does in terms of fans and standing up and going crazy and watching it, go out of the ballpark. It's like an alley-oop. It's like a one-timer for hockey fans. It's like that. So I think if you've kind of got this situation going on here with DeChambeau and him rubbing people the wrong way, and maybe a budding rivalry here with Brooks, this could be a terrific, terrific thing for the game of golf. Mike Lindsley with you. It's the ML Sports Platter all over the major platforms, brought to you by our friends at Rosie's Corner, CNY Electrical, Prestwick Golf, and Stanley Law Offices. Log on to StanleyLawOffices.com for more. That's StanleyLawOffices.com. Stanley Law Offices. Together, they'll work to get you the maximum award. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. Many thanks again to Del Reid, the co-founder of Bill's Mafia and 26 Shirts operator, doing an amazing job at Del Reid on Twitter. You can get this podcast, by the way, all over the major platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, CastBox. Go ahead and download, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review and some feedback. That stuff goes an awfully long way. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.